G'day, Hugh here from videsign.com.au, a design company based on the Gold Coast in Australia, and welcome to my latest tutorial. Today I thought I'd show you how you can use Premiere and Photoshop to create your own lookup tables, otherwise known as LUTs, which are effects you can apply to your video to give it a certain look. So it's a pretty simple process and it's very effective, and it means you can create your own looks rather than hunting for them and downloading them from different parts of the internet. So come and have a look at it and we'll see how it's done.
Okay, so I've got this short clip here in Premiere Pro from a short film I did. It's just a segment of it, just for illustrative purposes. And what we're going to do is color grade this by exporting still from this sequence, opening it up in Photoshop and creating our look in Photoshop. Just a cool way of creating your own LUT and having a real good control over how that LUT looks. So I will just choose a single frame. It doesn't really matter what one we're going to do, we'll just something like this is fine. So what you do is click on the camera and that allows you to export a single frame of the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to call it LUT tutorial and save it to the desktop. So say OK as JPEG. Then we're going to come into Photoshop and we're going to open that still image up from the desktop. And there it is. Now what we're going to do is work on the colors. So we're not worried about any like of the whether it's sharp or anything like that. We're looking at the color of this picture, and the way that we do this is through adjustment layers, which is this little circle down here, and if you click on that it gives you a list of adjustment layers that you can apply to this image. So I'm just going to start with exposure, and I'm just going to up the exposure a little, not too much but just a little. So that's our first adjustment layer. Next I think I might work on just adding a bit of vibrance, which allows saturation into underexposed areas. So we'll just up the saturation, up the vibrance a little. Add that. Our next adjustment layer will be hue and saturation. Now there are a number of presets that you can apply in this, and then you can adjust them according to what you think looks good, but I'm not really going to worry about using any of these. I'm just going to go back to default and just up the saturation a tad, and just work on the greens, making the greens look really nice and green, because there is some nice greens in that picture there, and it just gives that gives a bit of a different look. Now you can always switch the adjustment layers on and off with the eyes at the side to see what effect they're having on your image. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference there from our original image. Now that we've added a few adjustment layers in, I think we'll just probably add one more, and what I'll do there is just with the color balance, I'll just create a bit of a look with this now. What I'm gonna do is bring the shadows into a real bit of a blue, and the highlights I'm going to add red and yellow. Now that is a bit extreme, which is fine, which is what I want. Go back to the shadows, really add a bit of cyan into that. Okay, so now I've applied that color balance, but it's really extreme, so I'm going to drop the opacity of that adjustment layer down so that it then comes through as a subtle adjustment rather than an extreme one. So you can see there it's just adding that color contrast to the picture subtly, not overpowering. Okay, so you can do any adjustment layers, and you can do any adjustments and create any look you want. You can go from extreme to subtle to really focus on different colors. It's entirely up to you. You can put curves on it, you can work with the contrast, the brightness, the exposure. The world's your oyster with adjustment layers, but you've got to do adjustment layers. That's the only way this is going to work. But once you're happy with the way it's looking, you can now do the magic, which is you come up to File, and you go export, and you choose color lookup tables. So it's called LUT tutorial. Yeah, I spelled it wrong, but it's LUT tutorial, so I might just fix that up there. You can put copyright in there if you want to copyright your LUT, but you want to save it as cube. There are other formats, but cube is the one that works with Premiere Pro. And so just say OK to that. Now that's going to be saved in the same spot here on the desktop. Just call it the right name, LUT-tutorial.lut. Save on the desktop. And that's done. So now we can go back into Premiere Pro, and with our sequence that we've got here, we can apply that LUT to our footage. So what we do is what we want to do is go and create a new adjustment layer, which with the same settings as the video, and drop that adjustment layer onto our sequence. Drag it out so it's the same length as the sequence, so it's sitting on top of our sequence. Now what we want to do is add an effect to it. So we come to our effects and type in Lumetri, and what we want is Lumetri color. We'll drop that down onto the adjustment layer. So now we have that effect on our adjustment layer. So what we want to do with this effect is go to Creative, and we have this section called Look. It's currently got none, but that allows us to provide a LUT. Now we've got all these provided LUTs available with the program, and we could apply them if we're wanting to. Gold heat, that looks pretty hot, but you can go with Fuji, the Fuji look, Kodak, and so on. But what we want to do is apply our custom made LUT. So we go to Browse, and on our desktop we have it here, our LUT tutorial.cube, and we go Open. And now that's applied our LUT that we just did in Photoshop to our video sequence. Now you can see there was an exposure change in the actual video where it was a bit hot coming out of the building, and then it's been dropped back down. But that's a technical thing on shooting rather than grading. But we have got the LUT now applied to our video. Now what we could do is take this, copy it, create a new little video, and go back to our project where we have this particular sequence, drop that down on top. Now what we don't need is the sound, so I'm going to unlink and just remove that soundtrack there. Now we've got the original footage back on top, so we can compare. So what we do is just come in here, type in crop, drop a crop down on top, and come up here to our effects control, and we want to crop it to the right, probably about halfway, somewhere around there. So on the left we've got our original footage, and on the right we have our graded footage. So you can see there's quite a difference between what we started with and on the left and what we've ended up with on the right. So as I said, you can use any look you want. It's entirely what look you're going for and what your tastes are and what you prefer to see. But you can see on the right there the image is definitely much better than is on the left, which is a bit grey and dull, and on the right quite nice. Now obviously this is applying one LUT to the entire sequence. You can obviously just work on specific shots, because sometimes this particular scene might not have the LUT might not work. It works really well here, but it might not work as well here, or in this particular part here. So you can then just get really drilled down to specifics if you like, but I've just done it as an overall to show you how easy it is to create your own LUT. Okay, well that's all for this tutorial, so I hope you found that easy and quite interesting, and play around with it and create some of your own LUTs yourself and have fun. Till next time, I'll see you later.